what drew you to corporate law?
So I went to law school in India. That's where I first joined the bar. And then I went to England for a year to study law. I studied intellectual property. Then I went back to India. I was an IP practitioner in India. Then, I was with a law firm based in Delhi. Doing something different from what I was already doing was to, go back to law school, spend another year. That's when I came to Stanford, did my LLM to branch out of IP, so I took some corporate law classes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Ambition Circuit. Today, I'm here with my guest, Mr. Azad Virk, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Virk to give us a brief overview of himself.
Sure. Hi, Vedansh. Nice to finally get on the interview with you.
Yes,
so I'm
glad to
Azad
have you.
Virk. I'm an attorney here at Stradling Yocca Carlson Rauth. It's a law firm based in Southern California. I'm a corporate and securities lawyer. I work mostly with startups and emerging growth companies. I have been an attorney in California since it's been a long time. Like I said, I'm a private company lawyer. I work mostly with private companies from their inception through to, hopefully an exit, whether it's an acquisition or they decide to go public. Most of the times it's an acquisition. Like I said, I'm a corporate practitioner. I work with them very closely through various stages of their growth, of their fundraising, as they hire more people, build teams, and then, like I said, I'm a partner at Stradling. It's a corporate firm. We have various groups and practices at the firm, and so we try to, address our clients' issues and concerns and help them in all possible ways within the firm. So we are sort of like a one-stop shop.
Awesome. I love that. So it sounds, well, I mean, I guess this is cliche, but it sounds similar to Suits, but it's more corporate, not litigation.
Well, yeah, no, we do have a litigation group as well at the firm, and they are like Suits. No, although not as litigious, but litigious in the sense, not, they don't fight with each other, but yeah, we have a litigation group, and those guys focus on litigation and arbitration and other sorts of dispute resolution.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. And with that being said, we can get into our questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, first off, I can't say I know much about law, but I did get my fair share of experience in high school because I did mock trial, which I loved. I fell in love with talking to the judges, the attorney coaches, meeting all the new people and arguing. That was awesome for me. But then I learned, in law, there's so many sections and so many types of law you can practice. So my question then is that what drew you to corporate law?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, so I went to law school in India. That's where I first joined the bar. And then I went to England for a year to study law. I studied intellectual property. Then I went back to India. I was an IP practitioner in India. Back in the day, I used to be a litigator. So I used to do IP litigation. Then, I was with a law firm based in Delhi, and I worked there for 5 or 6 years. I made a partner there, and then I sort of became a little impatient. And it was a great firm, great work, but it was just, I was at that stage of my life where you tend to get a little impatient. So I got a little impatient, and I started looking around, and I started, looking for some diversity. And that's when I decided that the best, for me to get into different, doing something different from what I was already doing was to, go back to law school, spend another year. That's when I came to Stanford, did my LLM. And while doing my LLM at Stanford, I didn't, obviously I had an IP background. So it was, natural for me to take some IP subjects. But then I also purposely, because I was looking to branch out of IP, not just focus my 100% on IP. So I took some corporate law classes. I did fairly well. I got a good grasp of it, and
Hmm.
Stanford's a great school and great
Of course.
resources.
Yeah.
And so once I finished law, I was interviewing with some law firms up in the Bay Area, but bigger firms have no, they tend to have specialists. So you
Hmm.
basically you take up an area of practice, and then you focus on that particular area of practice, and you become a specialist. So it's kind of like being in an IP boutique that I was back in India. So I didn't want to do that because, like I
Definitely.
said, I was looking to do something different. So I interviewed at Stradling. Stradling's a really, it's a great firm. It's a mid-sized firm based down here in Orange County, but it's in the, it has a, and this firm was started by partners who also at one point in time were doing fairly well in another law firm here in Orange County, but they also became impatient and then they started their own firm. So
They
this
started. Yeah.
firm, the as a so I would say the DNA of the firm is such that the named partners, the founding partners, work very closely with the founders, entrepreneurs, and that has continued with the firm. So I'm glad I was able to join Stradling. That was way back in 2007, and it's been amazing. I have
That's cool.
I've been able to practice corporate law, and I've been able to continue practicing IP law. And like I said, in a mid-sized firm, that's something that's doable. In larger firms,
Yeah.
not so much.
Okay, that's cool. No, congratulations. Obviously, you've had a successful career. I was reading up on you through actually Stradling's website, and I saw that you do have quite a few accolades. So
Yeah, it's
good.
been not it's so far so good.
Of course. Nice, nice. No, congrats on that. So,
Thank you.
I found it very interesting where you talked about studying law in the US and in India and working in different law firms in India.
Hmm.
So, what was the biggest difference you noticed, or differences I should say you noticed in, studying and in working in law in India versus the US in terms of like opportunities, work culture, or any kind of an observation that you noticed?
Yeah, studying law in India is very different from studying law in England or in the US.
Hmm.
As I said, that I spent a year studying law in England as well, and although I was there for only 1 year, but it was very very demanding.
Yeah,
Same likewise in the US. Now, I wouldn't say that studying law in India is a breeze and it's not demanding. It is demanding in its own ways, but not as much as It's a different way of approaching law, I would say.
of
um,
course.
and so a lot of difference in going to an Indian law school as opposed to a US law school. Now things have changed. I
Hmm.
studied law in India, and I from 1996 to 99. So it's been a while. It's
Yeah,
when I went to law school in India. I understand that things have changed a lot, and things have improved a lot. So a lot of the law schools in India these days are kind of when it comes to teaching law, they are approaching it from a similar perspective as you would find in some of the US law schools or the UK law schools.
yeah.
So the standards have improved a lot across the board. Private schools, public schools, or across the board, the standards has improved. Now, as far as practicing law goes, it's like I said, I left India in 2006, so it's been again been a
Yeah.
while that I've been here. But back in the day, law firms were in Indian law firms were quite professional as well. You know,
Yeah.
they were the legal industry was opening up in the sense that they were getting influenced more and more by the overseas law firms. Now, overseas law firms back in the day were not allowed to practice law in India,
Hmm.
so the overseas um, uh, companies would have to hire Indian lawyers to represent them, and whether it's
In
in the
India.
courts
Okay.
or in M&A or anything, they would have to engage an Indian lawyer. So that influence, the economy opened up in early 90s, and so slowly and steadily it kind of spread across, different
Hmm.
industries.
Of
I would say
course.
the legal industry was slightly slower than the other industries, because one, the foreign lawyers were not allowed to practice. Two, that there was no investment happening in the law firms, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it had its influence, and when I was practicing law, we could see that. and the law firm, like I said, particularly the law firm that I was working with, Anand and Anand, it was an IP boutique,
Yeah.
and it was one of
Hmm.
the best IP law firms in India, and if not the best back then, and it still continues to be. And we had a lot of foreign clients, and they were holding us to the same standards that they would hold their lawyers in other countries as well.
Of
So
course.
there
Yeah.
was a lot of so when I moved to the US, obviously the cultures are different. No, I wouldn't say that it was exactly the same. The cultures are different. The manner in which the law firms were being run was very different. There's a lot more professional here in the US. Uh, Less reliance on like interpersonal relationships. It was more focused on how are you doing as a lawyer, right? And
Yeah.
obviously you build relationships in a firm, but it was more objective, I would say, rather than subjective when it came to assessing your legal abilities. The folks were more objective, um, and the cultures were different, and the demands were different. But it's just very interesting. I found it very interesting. I was it was, like I said, it was very straddling. That's where I started working, and it's a very professionally run organization, and
Of course.
has
Hmm.
has a great culture. So it was not. I mean, I didn't have to struggle, quite frankly. I was able to adjust fairly easily.
That's good. No, I'm very happy to hear that. And it's definitely interesting that foreign law firms are holding their Indian lawyers to, and lawyers, I presume, from any country, not just India, to the same standard as maybe their lawyers from the Western countries. So I think that definitely
Mhm.
did give you an upper court advantage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it was an IP boutique, so I literally the who's who of the U.S.
Yeah.
Companies that were our clients. So we were interacting with them day in day out. So it was it absolutely had an impact. Impact
Yeah.
on how you approach clients, how you handle matters, and you have to be responsive, and you have to be respectful, and
Of
all those
course.
things. And so again, I'm not saying that lawyers that were not representing foreign clients were not respectful, or not. They were. I'm sure they were, but it's just that when you're dealing with foreign clients, you tend to be a little more um, you know you have to be a lot more
Your
accessible.
decorum is different. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's true. Nice. So, you mentioned working with as a corporate lawyer with companies from inception to exit at any
Hmm.
point in time. And so I assume that means that you've seen a lot of startups and advised a lot of startups. So then what makes a startup, legally ready to open and to begin fundraising, to begin taking outside capital from any kind of a VC or an angel investor?
Yeah, so yes, I work a lot with startups, and I work. I have clients who will walk in with just an idea,
Hmm.
um, and they haven't even they haven't set up incorporated a company. They've not done anything. They just have an idea in their mind, and sometimes it's just an individual, and sometimes it's one or two people, and
Yeah.
so it just so you there are steps, so to speak. The first step is, and this is my standard, sort of, and I'm sure a lot of lawyers would say the same thing, that the moment you have um, you are working with someone on your idea,
Hmm.
whether it's
Yeah.
your co-founder or whether you've hired an independent contractor. The moment you are engaged with someone, I think is the right
Yes.
time to incorporate, form the company. There are multiple reasons for that, but the foremost reason from a corporate perspective is that you want all the IP that's being built. We're
Yeah.
talking about tech companies here, right? I mean, startups are mostly tech startups, and
Tech startups. Yeah.
and uh, and so they are built around IP, and so you want to make sure that the IP that is being developed from day one, so long as it's just you, sitting in your garage or in your office, and you're just coding, that's fine. It's all yours. You've not used
Yeah.
anyone's help, and you can, at any point in time, you can transfer all that to the company. But if you have, if you're working with the team, or more not just yourself, then you want to make sure that all that IP that is being built, and IP could be software, it could be ideas that you're sharing, it could be so many things,
Yeah.
prototypes that you're building. All that IP should stay within the company. Okay,
Okay.
that's one reason why you form a company. The second reason is that you if you started working with others, and you are a real startup, most of the times what you would want to do is um, use capital equity. I'm sorry, use
Yeah.
equity as a way to compensate your team. Be it the co-founders, be it someone you engage to help you with something, even if it's a discrete project. If you are offering equity
Hmm.
as compensation, again, you should definitely form an entity, because otherwise, what are you going to be giving the equity from, right?
Yeah.
So there are those things that you have to kind of keep in mind and decide when to incorporate. All right. Now you incorporate, you do equity issuances, you do all those organizational things that a company is supposed to do. Then comes the stage, like you said, hey, am I now ready to go talk to an investor?
Yeah.
From the law perspective, formation of the company is done, equity has been issued, all the formalities have been completed. From a legal perspective, yes, you are ready to go out and raise capital. But it's not
Yeah.
as easy as that, right? I mean, when you go out to raise capital, then investors, you talk to the investors, and different investors have different requirements, and so you have to sort of, you have to be at a certain stage before you're ready to raise capital. But
Yeah.
again, I've seen folks raise capital with just an idea, and I've seen folks not being able to raise capital even if they have a MVP, as you may have heard. So it
Yeah.
just depends on who you're talking to, what stage that investor is. But yeah, from a corporate law perspective, once that initial incorporation is done, and your organizational formalities are completed, then yes, you're ready.
Nice, nice. And as we begin to wrap up the episode, I
Hmm.
want to ask you, throughout your career, throughout experiences that you've had with other people in their careers, and from your point of view, from your expertise, what advice would you give to young attorneys, to be successful, to be as successful as you, more successful than you, where you would have wanted to be? What advice would you give them? What steps would you tell them to take?
Yeah, that's again, it's a great question, Vedanshu. One thing that I always say about any profession, particularly so
Yeah.
about the legal profession, is that it's not a sprint.
Hmm.
It's a marathon. You have to prepare yourself for a marathon.
Yeah.
So, but you have to be very, this profession is such that the more you give to the profession, the more you get back. you know
Okay.
so you have
Hmm.
to be, and again, like I said, it's not just this profession, I'm sure it's true for other professions as well, that the more you're working hard, the more you're learning, the more you're becoming competent, the more you're getting, you're getting into a place where you're able to handle clients on your own, you're able to answer questions on your own, and that, all of that, it kind of like, it's you're building yourself up,
Yeah.
right? And the more so long as the foundation is strong, the early years that you have as an associate in a law firm, or whether you start your own practice or wherever you are, right? That found You have to work very hard to have a very strong foundation. And once you
Of
have
course.
laid the good foundation, then yes, you start building a good, then you'll have a good strong building, and you will end up doing well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I like that was an amazing answer, and I think there was a lot of good takeaways from today's episode, about how lawyers carry themselves, how attorneys carry themselves. Like you said, running the marathon, preparing yourself, and having that drive, that passion of wanting more, feeling that stage where you're impatient in your life and taking that feeling and doing something with it. So there's a lot of great insights I learned today. And you know what? With that being said, that wraps up another episode of the Ambition Circuit. I would like to thank you again, Mr. Virk, for giving us your time. I'm sure my viewers are going to
Absolutely.
love this episode as much as I enjoyed the conversation with you. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.